Hi guys, in this video I will be explaining about definition of the derivative of a function. So this topic explains how to use limit to find derivative, but in order to find derivative using the limit takes a lot of time and effort, so it's not necessary. We learned much more simpler ways. We studied the differentiation rules, so it's not necessary to use limit to find derivative, but what you need to know is recognizing the form. We will be studying three types of forms about limits that gives us the derivative. If you can recognize the form, you'll know what to do without taking the limit. So, before I explain the forms, let me explain the logic behind it. You know what slope is? Slope of a straight line is change in y over change in x. It shows how inclined the line is. So similarly, if you have a curve, the slope and the curve and a point is, let's say the first point is x comma f of x, the second point is more than this, let's say this is x plus delta x, and y is f of x plus delta x. So the slope in this case for the slope of the tangent line is the line that's passing through these points is change in y over change in x. Change in y is subtract the functions, the y parts, f of x plus delta x minus f of x. Change in x is x part, x component for the second point, minus x component for the first point. So x's will cancel. So slope becomes f of x plus delta x minus f of x all over x. So this represents slope of a tangent line at a point. Okay, so this is the form that we need to know. This is about derivative. This is about slope. So that's why in the forms we will see f of x plus delta x minus f of x over delta x. So this is the first form. Um, all right. So, like I mentioned, this means slope. Slope means derivative. So f prime of x means slope m. M means derivative. So whenever you see limit as delta x approaches to 0 of this form, you'll know that it's about uh, derivative. It's talking about the derivative of f. Okay, let's take a look at some questions and try to recognize what f is, what derivative is, what f of x is. Okay, in this question, it's asking about f of x. What is f of x? When you look at the form, f of x is the one that's subtracted at the top. So what's subtracted at the top? X cubed is. So our function here is x cubed. Next question is giving us the function. It gives us the form. It's asking about evaluating the limits. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, evaluating limits for this form, it takes a lot of time. As you remember from chapter 1 questions, chapter 1 section 3 evaluating functions, you had such questions in chapter 2 in undetermined forms. We also solve these kind of questions in a long way, in simplifying way. It takes a lot of time and effort. It's not necessary. All you have to do is recognizing the form. So what does this limit form mean? This limit form means take the derivative. So it means take derivative. So take derivative of what? Take derivative of f. What is f? F is given in the question as 3 over x. So all you have to do is take derivative of the given function. If you don't know what this means, you struggle, you try to solve, takes time, you don't have enough time. So this is the simplest, easiest, and most efficient way, okay, recognizing the form. So take derivative of the given function. You can rewrite this function as 3 x to the negative 1. You can move this variable up. So when you take derivative, bring down the power in front. So negative 3 x to the power of, decrease the power by 1, negative 2. When you rewrite the result, it's negative 3 over x squared. That's the answer. Alright, so in this topic, you won't see questions asking about f of x or stuff. It's asking about the derivative. It is not asking about derivative directly. It's asking about derivative indirectly. So be careful in ministry questions also. They will give you this form. They will give you the function. They'll ask you the result of this form. They'll ask you the result of the limit. So when you know that that limit form represents the derivative, you'll take the derivative. Otherwise, you'll struggle. So just know what it means. Okay, next question. Find this limit form, which means find the derivative of x. So what is f of x? You should know what your f of x is. F of x is not given in the question. So that's the first thing you need to do, finding f of x. In the form, f of x is the one that's subtracted at the top. So in this question, what is subtracted at the top? It will be your f of x. So 4x squared is subtracted at the top. This will give you f of x. Since I know f of x, I can find its derivative. Derivative of f of x here is 8x, and I am done. Another ministry question similar to this. It doesn't give you the function. It directly asks you about the limit. So this limit means finding derivative of the function. But in order to find the derivative of the function, you should know what that function is. So identify the function first. It's the one that's subtracted at the top. What's subtracted at the top? 3x squared. 3x squared has plus in front. In our form, it has minus in front. So if there is minus in front, then it becomes plus. Then it means minus is in between, minus is in front of the function, minus minus makes plus. That's why we will say our function is minus 3x squared. All right. Now I can figure out what the derivative is. 2 in front, 2 multiplied by negative 3, negative 6x is the derivative. This is very nice question. Okay, another ministry question. This time it gives you the function. It's asking about the derivative. So you can find the derivative in differentiation rules by using differentiation rules. But when you look at the options, you won't see such answers. The options are written in limit form. So the question is asking you to determine the answer by using limits form. So let's write this by using this form. Let's start. So by using that form, you are going to write limit as delta x approaches to 0 of f of x plus delta x. So you'll replace your x with x plus delta x like evaluating function. Your x becomes x plus delta x. Square root of x, which is x plus delta x, plus 1, minus f of x, which is the original function, square root of x plus 1, divided by, in denominator, you have delta x. So when you solve these type of questions, you write the form here, and then try to evaluate this at x plus delta x and substitute everything back in the form. So in which option you see this? X plus delta x plus 1 minus square root x plus delta x divided by delta x. I see this in option A. All right. Another question, exercise question. Students generally do not like this question. It involves simplification. As we did in the previous question, let's try to write this in limit form. So f prime of x equals limit as delta x approaches to 0 of f of x plus delta x. So we replace our x's with x plus delta x. So every x in the function becomes x plus delta x. So x plus delta x cubed plus this also x plus delta x squared Okay, so you are not cubing x anymore, you are cubing x plus delta x. You are not squaring x plus x anymore, you are squaring x plus delta x. This is what evaluation is. We studied this before. So the first one, f of x plus delta x, which is x plus delta x cubed plus x plus delta x squared. This is the first part. Let me write the form here. Let it be in front of us. Minus f of x over delta x. So I'm trying to write this form. I'm trying to write my function in this form. Okay, I evaluated the first one at x plus delta x. This is what it is. Minus f of x, which is x cubed plus x squared in a bracket, all over delta x. Okay, that's my answer. Let's take a look at the options. In the first option, it's not the same. Second option, I don't know, it's expanded. Third option, the first part is yes. Second part, no. There's minus here, so not. Last part, maybe, I don't know. So apparently, I have to expand my numerator because in options, the remaining options, they're expanded. So let's do the expansion. But in order to do that, you should remember how to expand. How to expand. Note x plus y cubed. Okay, who remembers? Let's jog your memory. It's x cubed plus 3x squared y plus 3xy squared plus y cubed. So by using that expansion rule, we are going to expand this cube. So that's equal to x squared plus 3x squared delta x plus 3x delta x squared plus delta x cubed plus, I cannot fit in here. Let me rewrite this. Okay, let me clear this too and start from this, from the most left. So that's equal to limit as delta x approach to 0 o. Okay, x cubed plus 3x squared delta x plus 3x delta x plus delta x cubed. That's how I expanded the first term. Second term, there's square. You know how to expand square. Square of the first one plus 2 times first times second one plus square of the second one. And minus, you distribute this minus to the bracket for the last term. X cubed minus x squared without x. Okay, I finally fit in. Now, if there is simplification any, let's simplify. X cubed and x cubed will go. X squared, do you have any more x squared? Yes, I have one here. I think that's all. So, my result is 3x squared delta x plus 3x delta x plus delta x cubed plus 2x delta x plus delta x squared all over delta x. Now, do you see the answer in options? I think I forgot to here. Yes, yes, yes. I think it's D, right? It's the same. Okay, first, by using the limit form, we are going to write our function in that limit form by evaluating the function at x plus delta x, simplify as much as possible. All right. So I think that's enough for the first form. Let's talk about the second form. These are the questions that you may face in exam. I picked every type of question from the book and from the ministry. Second type. Second type looks similar, but there is a bit difference. There I don't see any x. I have c instead. So in this form, I have the value of the x. If the value of the x is given, It's derivative of the function at a point. So in the first question, let's find c. What is c? C is the number that's added to delta x. So what is the number that's added to delta x in the first question? It's 3. So c is 3. What is f of c? F of c is the one that's subtracted at the top. So what is subtracted at the top? 9. So f of c is 9. And what is f of x? F of x is the one that's written in the first place at the top, the first one. F of c plus delta x will give you f of x when you consider c plus delta x as x. So the first one is f of x. So your first expression at the top is 3 plus delta x squared. So you consider 3 plus delta x as x. Okay, so that's your x squared. This is how you identify f of x. The first one at the top is x, the f of x, when you consider number plus delta x as x. Okay, number plus delta x will be considered as x. So the first one gives you f of x. All right, next one, exercise question. Let's identify c. C is the one that's added to delta x, which is 6. It has nothing to do with the minus in front. We look at the inside the bracket. F of c is the one that's subtracted at the top. So 36, not 36, minus 36 is subtracted. When you consider there is minus here and the minus comes with the number here, it makes plus. So it is minus 36, not plus 36. And the function, when you consider number plus delta x as x, will be the f of x, which is minus, the whole thing is x and squared, so minus x squared. So in order to be able to identify c, f of c, and f of x is important to solve questions. If you cannot identify what f of x is, you cannot solve questions, because questions won't always give you the function. It will ask you to find limits, so you should know what the function is. Next one, another exercise question. The one that's added to delta x is c, which is 1. And the one that's subtracted at the top is f of c, which is 2. So the first expression, when you consider number plus delta x as x, is f of x. So what do I have here in the first expression? 5 minus 3, this is x. That's it. 5 minus 3x is the function. Okay, I am done with identifying c, f of c, and f of x. Now solve questions that came in Wazari so far. Okay, this one. Which of the followings is f prime of minus 2? So it doesn't ask you to find the derivative of this. It's easy by using the rules. It's asking about finding derivative by using limit. So you should know what the correct limit form is. So let's remember what the limit form when the value of the function, value of the x given is. It's limit as x approaches, as delta x approaches to c, the number, 0 of f of c plus delta x minus f of c divided by delta x. So that's the limit form we need to write. So let's find each unknown one by one. We don't know what f of c plus delta x is. What is f of c plus delta x? What is c first? The first of all, our c is given as minus 2. The value of the x in the question given as minus 2. So we are looking for f of minus 2 plus delta x. So all you have to do is evaluate the function at minus 2 plus delta x here. So your x becomes minus 2 plus delta x, which is equal to negative 2 over x becomes minus 2 plus delta x. This is evaluating functions chapter 1 section 3. Now, another unknown, f of c. What is f of c? Since c is minus 2, what is f of minus 2? F of minus 2, when you substitute minus 2 for x, is minus 2 over x, which becomes minus 2, which is 1. So one by one. You find the unknown. You don't know the first part, find it. You don't know the second part, find it, and substitute them back in the form. So in the form, we have limit as delta x approach to 0 of f of c plus delta x. I found this as negative 2 over negative 2 plus delta x. And minus f of c, I found this as 1 divided by delta x. So in which option you see this? Negative 2 over negative 2 plus delta x. Okay. I think I made a mistake when I typed these questions. We have two. This one? Yes, this one. D. Negative 2 over negative 2 plus delta x minus 1 over delta x, same as what I got here. So this is a new question, 2023 second attempt. It's asking about the derivative in limit form. So we should know what form to use, because the value of the function at negative 2 given. So the value of the x is given. So we should use the second form. So in the second form, we should know what f of c plus delta x is, what f of c is. We find them one by one and insert them back in the form. So we get our answer. This is D. Alright, let's move on. Another ministry question. This time f of x is given. So we don't need to worry about what f is. It's already given. We're asked to find that limit form. We just need to recognize that form. What does this limit form represent? It represents find derivative at what? At what is c? You should know what c is. C is the one that's added to delta x, which is 4. So we are asked to find derivative at 4. So let's find derivative f prime of x. Before f prime, let's simplify the function. There is radical here in denominator. Let's get rid of that radical first and move it up to use the power rule. So negative 4 over x to the half. You move the variable up, negative 4 x to the negative half. So after we rewrite the function, I can take the derivative easily. So negative 4 multiplied by the power negative 1 over 2 multiplied by x to the power of the power 1 less than 1 over 2. Negative 1 over 2 minus 1, negative 3 over 2, right? So negatives will make positive. 4 divided by 2 makes 2. So 2 at the top, x to the power of 3 over 2 at the bottom. If you cannot see this in options, I didn't type the options, so you write every possibility. 3 over 2 can be written as a radical. It's x to the 3 under radical under square root. I have x squared that I can take out as 2 over x to the power of x square root of x. So they're all possible answers. They're all true. So depending on the option, you'll continue simplifying or you can stop. All right, another question. Study guide 14 in chapter 2. We skipped study guide 15 in chapter 2. We skipped those two questions because there it was about derivative, and derivative way is easier than limit way. So now we are solving this. So it's asking about that limit. So what does that limit mean? Solving limit is hard. It takes time, but recognizing the form and answering the question according to the limit, it's much more easier. So this limit form means find derivative. Derivative of what? Derivative of the function at what? At c. What is c? C is the number that's added to delta x, which is pi over 6. So I should find derivative of the function at pi over 6. But what is the function? Do I know what function is? I don't know. So that's the first thing to do. We should know the function. Our function here is the first thing written at the top when you consider number plus delta x as x. So your function is sine x. Then its derivative will be cosine x. I'm asked to find the derivative of the function at pi over 6. So find f prime of pi over 6. So what is cosine pi over 6? Pi over 6 is 30 degree. Cosine 30 square root of 2. Alright. Similarly, next question. Same idea here. I should know what this means. This means find derivative at c. C is the number that's added to delta x, which is pi. But what is our function? Our function is the one that's written in the first place at the top, which is cosine x when you consider number plus delta x as x. So our function is cosine x. What we need is taking the derivative of cosine x. F prime of x is negative sine x. So we are not done. We are asked to find the value of this function at pi. So what is negative sine pi? What is pi? 180 degree. Sine 180 degree, 0. Negative 0, 0. That's the answer. Okay. So this question came in Wezari last year in 2022-23 second attempt in one of the options.